Welcome back to the Notary Podcast hosted by me, Daniel C. Lewis. And today you're not going to want to miss this one. We have the 2026 National Notary of the Year. That's right. Laura Biewer is going to be here today. So you're not going to want to miss this one. Cue the music. Welcome back to the Notary Podcast hosted by me, Daniel C. Lewis. And if you like this podcast, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. And today we have a very, very special guest. I know a lot of you have been waiting on this podcast. Today we are honored and welcome an exceptional leader in the notary profession, Laura Biewer, the 2026 National Notary of the Year. Laura has distinguished herself through her unwavering commitment to professionalism, education, and service within the notary community. Her passion for empowering notaries combined with her dedication to ethical practices and innovation has made a lasting impact across the country. Whether mentoring fellow notaries, supporting her clients with excellence, or contributing to the advancement of our profession, Laura truly represents the very best of what it means to be a notary public. Welcome to the Notary Podcast, Laura Biewer.
Thank you so much, Daniel. What a great introduction. Thank you. I was looking to see who you were talking about.
Definitely talking about you. I've known you for several years, and just knowing that you are the National Notary of the Year for 2026, so well deserved.
Thank you. Thank you. Long time being a notary, and I just love that there is something out there that recognizes notaries who do more in the notary profession. And I wasn't expecting it to hit me, but yay, I'll take it. It's great.
I hear that. What was your first reaction when you received the news?
Shock. Just total shock. Never occurred to me that would be something that would be in my horizon.
Yeah. Well, take us back to the beginning. What inspired you to become a notary public in the first place?
Well, many people do know my story along the way. I stopped. I wanted to leave the corporate world. I was a vice president for a nonprofit, and my company worked with compromised people, elderly people with hidden medical conditions, things like that. And so I liked the population, but I wanted my own business. And so what happened was I had the opportunity to start a 6-bed facility, assisted living, just a small one. And so I and my own grandmother moved over to be there so I could help her along the way. And that's how I got started with my business. Well, within a couple of years into it, people were saying, I need this document notarized. I mean, I didn't even know what that meant. I didn't know what a notary was. So I started calling around to find a notary to come and, help my client because they couldn't leave the facility. Yeah. And nobody wanted to come. They're like, they don't never have ID and they're kind of slow and I don't know if they're really alert and aware. And they want me to help them with the document. I mean, just the list went on and on about why it just wasn't a good fit for them. So I talked to a friend of mine who put herself through law school being a signing agent. I didn't even know that's how she did that. But she put herself through law school and she had a mobile notary business. She goes, Laura, I'll come take care of your clients. Don't worry about it. And so she did. And then she said, you could help clients too. You could become a notary and you could do what I do, which is go to hospitals and other places where notaries won't go. And you could, just do that as a volunteer thing. But you could also make money as a signing agent once you get going. Which was really helpful for me because I only had 6 beds and you don't make money till bed 6. When you have 1 bed empty, there is you just make enough to pay the expenses. It takes 5 beds to pay the expenses. I said, okay, this is a good idea. And so I became a notary. And the first thing I did is I started letting hospitals and other facilities, larger ones than mine, hey, I'm a mobile notary and I will come take care of your clients. Yeah. Just call me. I will come and take care of them. You don't need to worry about it. And I wasn't charging. I was just doing that because my friend was taking care of my clients. So I was doing that. And then she taught me how to do loan signing so I could make some extra money. So I didn't have to rely on my business for my income because I barely had enough money to, buy groceries, right? It just is that kind of business. It's a lot of hard work and it's unfortunately not well paid. And so that's where I got my start. And then I said, I probably could do a little more because besides running this facility and doing the part-time work, I was making more with my part-time notary hours than I was running my business, which is sucking up all my time. And even though I loved what I did and I loved the clients, I couldn't picture myself working that hard until 65 or older doing that. My back wasn't going to take it. And I said, maybe this notary thing might have more to it. I bet there's a seminar or a conference or something. And in 2005, I went to the National Notary Conference in Vegas, where there were like over 2,000 notaries. Yes. I about flipped out. And I said, oh my God, all these people, this is what they do. And I couldn't believe it. And so I came home with a plan. And that plan was within a year, I would sell the business that I had and I would start promoting and marketing this notary business, doing loan signings. It was just loan signings because, back then we're talking, 2005, 6, 7. I mean, that's pretty much all anybody did. The word specialty wasn't even out there. Once I sold the business, I said, okay, this is full blown. And then I stopped giving it away to the hospitals. I said, look, thank you for using me all these years. I want, this is what I do now as a profession and I need to charge. And they were like, we're okay with that. And so there you go. It took off and things just blew off the hinges until 2008. And then it just blew up. It just blew up. Yes. And there was no more loan signings. And all I had was some of the hospital stuff. And I said, okay, well, there must be other work like that I could make money when it's not a loan signing. And that's when I started going through my journal and looking to see what was repeated, what kinds of documents, what kind of locations. And I started to figure out, there's kind of a specialty to this. And I'm going to start specializing. And I'm going to learn everything I can about that industry, that document, that location, whatever it was. And then I would promote that, what differentiated me from other mobile notaries. And that's how I got going. And estate planning became the biggest one for me out of all those specialties.
Wow. That is you touched on this a little bit. What were some of the early challenges you faced and how did you overcome them?
My earliest challenge was trying to develop a business, this new business that I didn't know anything about, including I didn't know anything about being a notary other than I took, the 6-hour training required in California and continuing to run full time that 6-bed business because I don't have 5 employees. I had 1 employee and me, right? So I'm running around to doctor's appointments. I'm making breakfast. I'm giving showers. I'm doing all the work, even though I was the administrator and owner. And then I was running out to do notary appointments. So balancing that. And then I still had kids that were still young. They were like elementary, junior high when I was doing that. Balancing all of that was hard. And it meant if I was doing really well at one thing, I was not doing so good at something else. Right? Because you can't do everything well at the same time. And so what I learned was something's going to give. And either I wasn't doing all the things as a mom, or I wasn't at the facility enough, or I wasn't doing enough appointments. There was something that was always falling short for me. And I knew that I could not go on that way. And something had to go. Yeah. And the facility, ultimately, I just threw it into the universe and said, I would love to sell this facility to somebody who already has a love for this kind of work and they know what they're getting into. Maybe they've already been caregivers. And sure enough, it was within 6 months or so of doing that the right people came into my life and they said, hey, we want to do something like this. We're going to start from the ground up. Can you just tell us what we need to know, because you were referred to us as somebody who would know how to do this. So I spent a few hours telling them, this is how you do it. I never once said, and I have one, you could buy it. I just said, here's how you start from the bottom up. Here's how I did it. And by the end of the conversation, they said, well, it sounds like it'd be easier if we just bought one already done, now that we think about it. And what about you? Have you thought about selling it? I'm like, well, yeah, I have, but I don't know, because I've already had it almost 5 years. You know, I'm really attached.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, but it's only to the right people. So let me tell you what I would expect, you know, from somebody that I would sell it to. And it all worked out. And within another 6 months, I sold that business and I was full-time notary. And so that transition really helped, because I was challenged so much with just being overloaded with a lot of activity and not enough paid activity.
When you're growing your notary business, what was a key turning point or aha moment for you?
I think when I realized I really don't know a lot in terms of the laws and what the intention is and how we protect signers and who's really my customer and just the technical aspect, because we become a notary in any state. Some have no training requirements. Even the ones that do, it doesn't prepare you well for the business of being a notary and how you get assignments and who is hiring you versus who is the signer. And I really didn't know a lot of that. And and I realized that when in 2006, when I accepted contractor work from the NNA. And they said, hey, would you like to be an instructor for us as a contractor and come down and interview? And so I did, and I took it. And for the first, 4 years, I was a contractor. And I was doing that alongside of doing the work of a notary. And that really helped because, by 2008, then I didn't have a whole lot of notary work. So that kind of really saved me. But during that time, I started to become exposed to more than just one California. And I started realizing, what do you mean? We don't have all the same acts? We don't all do it the same way? There aren't the same rules? Not everybody has training? I was just flabbergasted at how different it was. And that's when I realized this is a much bigger picture. And I need to understand this framework called being a notary public and what the service really is. And what is it I'm responsible for and accountable to? And what is this public trust that I'm a part of? And that's when that big aha moment said, oh my gosh, we don't really know as a community. It really wasn't a community then, and we were just all doing our own things.
Yes.
What we should be doing. And that's when I said, oh my God, I need help. And I think if I could develop a community of notaries, even just some local ones, and we could just talk about it, talk about our assignments and what happened, and did that seem right or what was going on there, it would be so helpful, because there were leaders out there that you would hear if you went to a conference, right? But there was no Zoom, there was no podcast, there was nothing for us really. So it was very localized. And I started with 3 people. 3. That was my group. Right. And then over time, things have changed. The tools have gotten better, and it's really broken down the walls so that you don't have to go to a conference in order to hear from people who are ahead of you. You can hear it from your own home. And I'm so excited that I was part of that growth. Very
good. Yeah. That was a turning point for me to seeing after 2008, people coming out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
There. How would you say you differentiate yourself from other notaries around the country?
What I used for myself was I'm the notary's notary. I wanted to know the most possible, not just about my own state laws. I needed to be excellent. I needed to be basically the GOAT of California, so that any notary who didn't know something, they had a resource to go to. But then expanding that over the United States. And when I did hotline for quite a few years for NNA, when I became an employee status, that's when I really learned that, you know what, we need resources out there. Notaries need answers, and they need real life answers. And the hotline is an incredible resource to us. Mm-hmm. And they will tell you the law says this, or the law doesn't say anything, but they're not out in the field. They're not out doing work. And we need people like you and me and Elaine and others who are out there doing the work to get a real life perspective. Because, you know, it sounds so easy. You know, get the ID, look at the document. Is it complete? Yeah. Where do they sign? Right? It doesn't, record keeping. It doesn't sound like a big deal, but it is a big deal. And there's always some twist to the story. Yeah. And it's never that clean cut. And so I differentiate myself as a notary who is more than competent and confident in the skills that I bring. Yeah. And that I'm a resource. I'm not just a notary. I'm a resource for other notaries and for the public. And I educate the public one signer at a time. Yeah. Because nobody's out there doing it, right? Yeah. Helping them understand. Do you know what it means when I'm doing this? Yeah, you're putting your stamp on here. I need it. Yes. Do you know why you need it? And do you know why I can do that? And what does that mean? So that's what I use to differentiate myself from other mobile notaries who also do travel, who also do the same specialties that I do.
Yeah, you've been such a huge advocate for other notaries out there, such a huge advocate for other notaries out there. You have the TNT with Jane Knight. Is it Knight? Neitzel. You have the Laura Inner Circle on Saturdays where people can come in. And these are free resources that people can come and talk to you directly with. And I know you have it there. You just published a book, The Compassionate Notary. Can you tell us a little bit about that book? And can you show it?
I love my cover.
Oh, I love that. That looks great.
Hospital. So this is my second book. The first one I co-authored with Bill Soroka to identify specialties. And there was a taste of hospital in there. But what I realized is people said, oh, I want to do that too. What do I need to know? And I said, oh my God, first of all, you need to know your notary laws. Second of all, you need to understand this is a special environment and its own ecosystem. And you need to know who the players are. And you need to know how to navigate that. So I started making notes. I thought, oh, I'll give like 10 great tips. I was just going to write some tips down to help people get into this. And then the questions just continued coming at me. And the tips grew into, man, I've got 30 tips, not 10. And then it was like a little booklet. Maybe I'll do an ebook and just put everything out there. And pretty soon it got over 100 pages. And I said, oh my God, this is a book. This is a real book. And what I need to do is create the resource I didn't have when I started. And that means starting with understanding what the environments are that you're going to face and what are the situations you're going to face. And then, you know, even just starting with the parking is a whole deal. Because sometimes you're across the street, sometimes you got to pay, you've got to go through a metal detector, you have to check in through security. I mean, there's just so many things, and you haven't even gotten to the room yet. Yes. And then you've got the interruptions going on there, because now here comes the nurse to do vitals, or the doctor's on rounds and he happens to hit that room, you got to step out. These people are hooked up to everything known to man. They're laying in a little gown and nothing else. So there's, you know, trying to maintain their modesty and dignity. Yeah. Sometimes they're private rooms and sometimes they're not, which means I've got confidentiality I got to worry about. So I haven't even done anything yet. And look at all the things I'm already thinking. Then I need to assess the patient. I need to make sure that they're alert and aware to meet my standard, that I'm comfortable that this person is willingly signing a document they know what they're signing. And so I had to develop assessment questions that I didn't want to put them through a whole interview, but 4 questions that line up similarly to what hospitals do for orientation. Yeah. So that's what I developed. And so, you know, along I go. So now then I needed special tools. Some of them couldn't handle a regular pen. They needed a weighted pen. Some were visually impaired and I needed a vision card. Some couldn't hear. I had some, they couldn't find their glasses. So I had free, readers, different, from like the dollar store, you know, the little cheaters readers. And so I had like a 2 and a 3 and said, okay, well, try this and see if it could help them. All they need to do is see, you know, where they could sign their name. So having extra tools that I normally might not have in my bag. And then I'm getting to the document and the work of it. And then I got to worry about, and sometimes before I even get in the room, I have to garb up. I have to see if there's any warnings on there about having to wear, and then that means I needed to have disposable tools and I needed to have sanitizers. And of course, I went through this with COVID. I was doing hospital work during COVID, and it was tough. It was tough to go in these hospitals when people had different things going on because, who knows, there's just paper. But they needed these, and it was all powers of attorney healthcare directives that they needed. So I go through all of that. And then how to protect yourself and when to walk away and what kind of insurance should you be having. All of those things are in that book. I didn't have any of that. I had to learn it myself.
Very, very good. Now, you have that book, and the other one is called Beyond Loan Signings?
Yes, Beyond Loan Signings was the first one. That was about 3 years ago. Co-authored it with Bill Soroka, and there were 13 different specialties in there to give an idea of there's more than loan signings out there. Not that loan signings, which is the first specialty, and it's a good one. Yeah. It can't be your only one, because when's the next time that we got the dip, right? Yes. And if that's all you're doing, then your work goes down the tubes. And I didn't want to have happen to me in 2008 to happen to other notaries again, because a whole bunch of notaries came in at COVID time. It was raining jobs. You didn't have to, all you had to do was fog a mirror. They wanted you, just come, right? And then when COVID was over, what is inevitable, as the rates go up, the signings go down. Yeah. If you don't do anything else, then you walk away from a business that you started. Yeah. So Bill and I were trying to open the eyes of notaries, saying there's so many other things you could specialize in. Here's a taste of what you should know. See if that's something you're interested in, then you could dive into it. Mm-hmm. And then the hospital one, I just felt like, oh no, I got people excited about doing that, and then they don't know what the heck they're doing. Yes. And this is not a place to practice. You don't practice on the public at a hospital or a hospice, right? And there's a lot of things to think about that if you don't do things right, families, they love you when you're there, and then they sue you later, right? Yep. Notaries get pulled in, particularly because of alertness and awareness. Yes. Yeah. So I wanted to make sure notaries were better prepared for what they get into, to identify why do I need to stop and or walk away from an assignment, after I've already gotten there. And that's a hard decision to make because now you're already there. And part of it is I talk a lot about the caller assessment. When I'm on the phone, that's my chance to see, is this a viable appointment? And so I have a 5-question test that I give my caller to make sure, that this person is alert and aware. This person has the document. It's already completed. This person can speak my language so we can communicate together, right? This person can answer questions from me like, who are they? Where are they? What document are they signing? And do they want to sign it, right? So all of these things. And by the way, if I get there and that isn't how it is, I still have a trip fee. It's a business. I just spent gas and time, especially in hospitals, I spend more time. Yes. So my fee structure has a facility fee. So I have a base fee. If I go to your house, it's my base travel fee and the notarization is. But if you ask me to come and do the same thing at a hospital, I have a facility fee to cover all that extra time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I will say from a professional standpoint, the Beyond the Loan Signing book is absolutely great. If you're just seeing this for the first time and you haven't gotten that book, definitely get that book. And also the Compassionate Notary. And you can find those books where at the coachmelora.com/books. Books.
Because both are there. Yeah, and it'll end up on Amazon. That's where it'll end up taking you. You'll find them there. Yeah. So yes, the feedback I've gotten has been just overwhelming. Yes. And, oh my God, I didn't realize. It's just notarizing. I didn't really think I needed to know all this other stuff. Yes. And there's so much you need to know to protect you, to protect your signer, to make sure you've performed a valid notarization. All of these things come into play when you are specializing with the vulnerable, with the compromised. There's just more to know.
Yes, you're so right. What do you think are 3 strategies to building a sustainable notary business in today's environment?
Number 1, know what you're doing. Be confident, be competent at the service you're providing, which, don't forget, is notary service, right? And we hold public office, which means we hold the public trust. Yeah. And so being able to deliver our notary service is number 1.
Yeah.
Don't be going out there getting jobs when you don't know what you're doing. And if your state doesn't provide that kind of training, there are lots of communities that are offering it. I have 2 of them. Notary Stars is another one. You've been doing meetups and other kinds of things. Elaine has a group. There are groups all over the place that you can join in and get real life perspective from leaders who know what they're doing. So that's the first thing, is make sure you know what you're doing. And actually, I led you into the second one, is don't do it alone.
Yes.
Communities, some specialize, whether it's a Facebook group, whether it's a live Zoom call community, whether it's your local meetup, find a group and be a part of that, because that is going to help your growth exponentially.
Yes.
Talking to people who are a few steps ahead of you or even further that along. So know what you're doing, be a part of a community to do that. And then the other thing is understand that there are specialties out there and that loan signings isn't the only one. And so you want to identify 3, maybe 3 things. Might be estate planning, hospital work, loan signing work. Okay, now I got 3. Then dive into that and find out, what do I need to know? What's special about it? What makes it special? What do I need to know besides how to notarize a document? And then go after the marketing strategies involved in that, because you can't have one marketing plan. It's different. The people you deal with in loan signings are going to be title companies and escrow companies and signing services, right? And lenders, those kinds of people. But in hospital, it's not signing services. You're dealing with the workers, nurses. You're dealing with different people, and it happens in a different way. And when you're dealing with estate planning, now you're dealing with estate planning attorneys.
Yeah. Yes.
Each specialty has to have a special marketing plan directed to the people that are the decision makers and the hiring parties. And you need to understand their industry so that you know how to solve the problem they're trying to solve, which is getting competent notary services at the right place at the right time so that the documents will be acceptable wherever they're going.
And this is a question I wanted to definitely ask you. When you agreed to this, I wanted to definitely ask you this. What daily habits and routines contribute to your success?
Well, they might not be what you think. The first one is, I believe in speaking out what I want to achieve, speaking it out to the universe. I believe in starting my day with gratitude for what I've already done, and for the opportunities I know will be placed in front of me, and for the wisdom to identify them when they show up. So that's part of my morning routine. And I think that's really important, because it's okay to love what you already have and still want more. That's okay, right? It doesn't mean you don't love what you already have or that you don't appreciate that. It's okay to desire something more. And I think that's important. And that's what's kept me moving, changing, reinventing myself all the time, because I keep looking for where's the opportunity and can I see it? And, if I have like a superpower, that's my superpower.
Yeah.
Is that I'm always it's the BOLO, be on the lookout, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Be on the lookout and then identify it. And then the second thing is to take action.
Yes.
Once you see it, because if you don't, somebody else is going to see it and they're going to take the action.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's right there really helps me get fired up for the day. And because I know that, one, I'm going to be working on my own business, not somebody else's. Right.
Yeah.
I'm making my own fortune. I'm not making somebody else's fortune. And the other thing is that it's another day where I'm going to have another opportunity to see what's out there. What else can I participate in? And it's not always about business.
Yeah.
Right. Where else can I be a part of? Because I think connection is so important for us, whether we're connected within our business, in our family, with our colleagues, with our friends, that connection. And you need to be on the lookout for that opportunity. That opportunity might be, I saw a post from somebody and I want to say something to them about that. Instead of just liking it, I'm going to actually say something. And I had so many congrats on some of the posts that were put out there. And anytime somebody said something to me, they didn't just like it. I took the time to respond back, to acknowledge that I see you. I know you reached out to me. Thank you. And I think that's important. And, the likes don't do it. You need to make that personal outreach and say something that connects you back with them. And so I think that, again, is part of my strategy every day is who am I going to connect with today? I love that. And then the other, be on the lookout, is what are the business opportunities that might present itself? Is there a new specialty I haven't thought of yet? Certainly the 13 we came up with isn't the end all be all of the list. There are so many things a notary, because of the office they hold, because of the fact that they're mobile, there's lots of things about what we do that lend itself to things that have nothing to do with being a notary.
Yeah.
Right. And then I think the other thing is, where can I contribute?
Yeah.
Right. Where is it that I have something to offer, and can I find a place who's interested in accepting that and having me be part of that? And those are, so, it's not like I start out and read a law book, right? Although I am a book reader, and I do look for books that help me better understand the law, because, we do things that impact the legal system, right? Yeah. Our whole world is about documentation. Is it in writing? And so I want to make sure that I am articulate, and that when I speak to an attorney, I can speak their lingo. Right? When I speak to an escrow officer, then I can speak their lingo. When I'm talking to a nurse, then I can talk their language. That's a lot of, I'm multilingual. Right? It's all English, but it's a special kind of language that connects me with them. And I think if you want to stand out from other notaries, then I think identifying how can I make that connection? What can I do that's going to attract them to me, right? That attraction feature, they know, like, and trust you. What builds that? What builds that is demonstrating competency in their business. Yes. Right? That's where the trust comes in, being able to communicate about what's the situation.
Yes.
I think that's important. And as they get to know me, I get called to the hospitals. Hospitals and estate planning are pretty much the only specialties I do right now. Yeah. And it's because I'm busy with doing that. Yeah. And even though I'm, promoting a book, I'm speaking in 3 different conferences, I'm doing a lot of things, but I still stay close to the original business for me, which is going out and performing a notarization. I don't forget where I come from.
Yeah. I totally get that. Totally get that. What advice, you said since 2005, what advice would you give someone just starting this business? What advice would you give new notaries?
Get training if you don't have it. Get in that community. I mean, really, it's going to be the same things. And start developing a business plan that includes what are the specialties I'm planning to look at, then research them. Right. And then develop, am I going to drop in? Am I going to do emails? What's your plan, your outreach plan? And then execute. I think the thing that I see with, not just with notaries, but with other business, they're all about the research. They're all about buying their stuff and getting their logos set up and all that stuff. And nobody's executing. Get out there and do it. It may not be perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can change it as you go. But if you never get out there, nothing's going to happen for you. Yeah,
that's so true. That's so true. Laura, wow, the time has flown. Ooh. Yes, I know the time has flown. I could sit here and talk to you for hours about the notary industry. Can you tell us one more thing? how can they if they wanted to join the TNT or the Laura Inner Circle, can you tell us how could they do that?
Absolutely. TNT is at 12:15 every Tuesday.
That's Pacific time, right?
That's Pacific time, 12:15 Pacific time. And if you want to join, it's free. Go to marketing4notaries.com/TNT. All right. So marketingfornotaries.com/TNT. We'll send you the link every week. If you want to join Laura's Inner Circle, go to coachmelaura.com. And right there on the homepage, you'll see Laura's Inner Circle. Give me your email. I'll send you the link. And then that's at 8 a.m. Pacific time every Saturday morning. And that call is a little different than the Tuesday call. I have Matt Miller who co-hosts that with me. And so we're looking at all 50 states. It's a national call. And if you bring me a question and you're in Nevada, you're in Maryland, you're in some other state, we have Matt looking up the laws right there while I'm talking to you. If I know it off the top, sometimes I do, then I just answer it. But sometimes it's a deeper question. So we just pull up the resources right there in the call and say, okay, here's what the law says in your state. It says this. Now let's answer it. Because I don't want to say, well, this is how I would do it. I need for them to know it's in your law. Here's the statute. And here's what it says. Or it doesn't address it. So now let's talk about what is a best practice.
Yeah.
Right? But we don't start with best practice. We start with what the law says if it gives us direction. And the laws are always going to be short. Right? They're never going to tell us everything to do. We've always got to, we're going to live in a gray area in doing our jobs. And we have to constantly make decisions about what do you think was meant by that? Because the interpretations aren't there either. What do you think the intent of the law is for that? And then the ultimate line that I give people is, you're the notary in the chair. When you're the notary in the chair, your decision is the decision that you're going to live with. So you need to make it. You can't say, well, Laura Biewer said to do this.
Yeah. You
need to decide for yourself and have your own internal fortitude to say, I can stand behind this. It's a defendable decision. Yes. And I think that's what notaries need to think about. The work you do today isn't about today. Yeah. It's about 4 or 5 years from now or longer when something blows up. And now they're saying, hey, what were you doing? What did you do? What did you not do? Why did you use that ID? Why did you not do this? It's all about, can I defend what I'm doing? I can defend it because the law said that's how I do it. I can defend it because this is a recognized best practice. I can defend it because in this case, in this location with low risk document, it seemed reasonable. Yes. Because it's what is a reasonable person? What would a reasonable person do? Again, it's satisfactory evidence, not perfect evidence. It's rare we get perfect evidence, right? So being able to look at how risky are these documents? Is somebody transferring property rights? Right? Is this, they're transferring a power of attorney? They're naming somebody who can start making decisions for them. These are risky documents versus they're just trying to make sure their pension check keeps going in their account. Right? So I look at that. I look at, am I in their home where I can see pictures of them everywhere and their kids are running around, right? I mean, that's a different scenario than I meet them at a Starbucks. Right. So I look at where am I meeting them? I look at the riskiness of the documents themselves. And then I look at what the law direction gives me. And then I say, okay, based on this situation for this one appointment, this looks like the right decision for me to make. Now, the next time I might not make that decision because the location's different, because the riskiness is different. I'm constantly having to practice. It's a notary practice, right? I have to practice implementing the law and making sure I'm staying within that framework and protecting the integrity of the document. And I can't do that with black and white rules that say, well, I'm always going to allow a nickname. No, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It depends on how far away it is from the real name. Yeah. You know, if you're saying it's Bob and it's Robert, I'm not having too much of an issue. But if you're saying my nickname is Cookie and her name is Margaret, that's not going to work for me, right? So we got to have boundaries that we know we can live within.
Yeah, so much great information there. And one last thing, they can find your books both Beyond Loan Signings and The Compassionate Notary on coachmelora.com/book.
That's right. Books,
Yes.
plural. I got two.
Books, yes, you got yes. Laura, thank you so much for joining us on the Notary. We got to have you back because, like I said, I can talk to you for hours about the notary business. I think there's just a handful of notaries around the country that really understands the meaning of the notary industry, the notary business, and you are one of those people. I definitely got to have you back.
All right. I would love to come back. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And if you like this podcast, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. We definitely going to have Laura back. We'll see you next week. Laura, thank you again. So say bye to everybody.
Bye. It's been a pleasure.